Welcome back, Money Circle fam. Hope you guys are having an awesome day today. And this one is actually going to be a change of gears because what I'm starting to notice is a lot of people that are following my socials are new to investing. And all of these concepts that I talk about may be a little bit too advanced for somebody who may be just starting and haven't even bought their first stock. So this one is going to be a little bit more change of pace and really tailored for somebody if you're new, or maybe you have been watching this page, you haven't bought your first stock yet and you have no idea what to do. You're starting to feel those feelings, you're starting to get antsy, you're a little bit afraid, and most importantly, you're not taking action. So all of those things are very common and I want to address them in this video. But before I do, my name is Rick. I'm a personal finance guy. I personally like talking about money, how it works, and how to create wealth for yourself. And I do that through using the news, but also teaching you how to invest in some of the things that I'm doing that have helped me also build wealth for myself. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you smash that subscribe button and tune into all of my socials because you're going to get content like this. So I've been speaking with a lot of my private community members lately, and there's been a common denominator. Now, first and foremost, if you're new to this page and maybe you don't know, I have a private wealth building community, and this private wealth building community is something where I help coach people through setting up a stock account or a brokerage account and helping them to buy their first stocks, including what stocks to buy. So I was talking to some of my community members, and a lot of them are new. And I'm figuring out some common denominators as to why maybe they've been in the community for months or, potentially had just gotten in there, and some of the challenges that they're facing. And one of the biggest ones, and I'll go through a couple of them because all of this stuff is stuff that I've personally gone through as well. The first biggest one was a fear. And that fear is, I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm afraid to lose money, or I'm just oblivious to how the entire thing works. And because of that, I'm just paralyzed with what to do. All of this stuff is very common. So if you're in that position right now and you're like, yeah, that's me, like, hey, pick me, I get that. I was like that as well, and I've coached many of people through that inaction to a space of total confidence with their investing plan that they've set up. So here's what I'll say, is if you're somebody that's new, I want you to think about investing like stacking wins. And I don't care if we're talking about investing or we're talking about playing a sport, or you're stacking wins at work so you can get a promotion, or you're stacking up wins with your kids so that they behave better. All of it is really the same type concept. We're just talking about money in this case. You want to stack up as many wins as you possibly can. And by doing that, what that does is that builds confidence in you that you are good with money, because more than likely what's happening is mentally you have this thought process or these limiting beliefs that have come in that said, I'm not good with money, I don't know how to invest, only rich people have money, anytime I invest money I lose, whatever it is. All of those are limiting beliefs, and they come from fear and they come from a lack of confidence. So what we want to do is we want to start creating wins for you so that you build confidence in yourself that you can actually start investing in the stock market and getting wins. So how I help people do that is, or what I tell people to do is, start with what you can right now. That may be saving money. So maybe you can save $2 a month. And I know this is like a crazy idea, but whatever you can save. Maybe it's $2, maybe it's $10, maybe it's $100, maybe it's $500. Save whatever money you can. What this is going to do is, as you start to become more disciplined in the saving, you're going to start realizing, oh, I can do this. Oh, I am good with money. Oh, all of a sudden I have evidence or proof that I am somebody who knows how to save money. So you're doing a couple different things. You're starting to win that old mindset. You're starting to win it to your new level of belief, which is, I'm going to become wealthy. But number two, you're starting to create a healthier habit for yourself, which ultimately creates wealth. What I would then do in that spot is, as you start to save money and as you start to build that emergency fund or savings fund, Then piggyback onto the next thing, which for a lot of Americans is debt. Try to pay your debt down as quick as you possibly can, because believe it or not, paying down your debt is actually investing in yourself, because what you're doing, or is investing, I should say, you're investing in yourself. Essentially what you're doing is you're saying, I'm going to pay off these people that I owe money to so that I can use my money for me. So in the long term, I'm paying this off so that I can invest in myself down the road. So subconsciously, you actually are investing in yourself by paying off debt. And that's one of the first most important things, is to start investing in yourself before you start investing in stock. Then as you start to stack up those wins and you have that savings account and you start to pay off that debt, I'm not saying you have to pay all of your debt off, then you start putting some of that savings money into stock investing. And you don't complicate it. You buy stocks that are proven, Magnificent Seven stocks. And real quick, Magnificent Seven are going to be your Facebooks, your Googles, your Amazons, your Apples, companies like that. Don't complicate the process. Invest in companies like that, because those ones tend to go up in the long run. And when they go up in the long run, you start to see, oh my God, I'm investing and I'm making money. This is great, which ultimately starts to habit stack. So to break this down and make this as simple as I possibly can, if you're somebody who's in that position of being afraid and unsure what to do and you're afraid to lose money, I get it. That's where a lot of people are. But you want to start stacking wins. And you start stacking wins by starting with where you are, which is saving money and then paying off debt. And then that's going to start building more self-confidence. And the more self-confidence you have, the more likely you are to start investing. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is to treat your wealth success like you would treat learning a new skill. So think about when you were a baby and your parents were teaching you to walk. You would take 1 or 2 steps, then you'd fall to the ground. And then you would probably cry. You probably wouldn't walk. But again, eventually you built up the courage to try again. And then you tried again, and this time you took 3 or 4 steps, and now you're gaining a little bit more confidence in yourself, and you're gaining this new skill of being able to walk. And then eventually that led into you walking around the house, and then that eventually led to running around the house, and then obviously more and more physical activity. But the point is, you started with a single step, and that's very, very similar, if not identical, to how investing is. In order to go out into a full-on sprint to start building wealth, or what I mean by a full-out sprint is having the confidence to go into a full-out sprint or full-on investing, is you have to start by developing the skill of investing, which means you have to do that. You have to push through the fear. Now, when you're pushing through the fear, all of these same thoughts that we talked about are going to come up. I don't know what I'm doing. What if I lose money? All of these things. So the easiest way to combat that thought process is to start with what you're okay losing. Now, I'm not saying you're going to lose the money, but if you treat money when you're investing as if it's, hey, it's just money, no big deal if I lose this $5 or $10, whatever. It is what it is. That's how you want to look at it when you first start investing. Because if you start with a smaller amount like $5 or $10 and you end up losing money, it's not that big of a deal. But imagine if you tried to go from I've never taken a step before to throwing $10,000 into the stock market, or I've never walked before, to full on running. You're going to slip and probably bust your teeth. It's the same thing with investing. So in order to get us to a spot where we're able to full on run, and we run with confidence, we start with baby steps, which means that if you're brand new to investing, don't complicate it. You simply just start with what you have. And again, this is going to be an amount that you feel comfortable enough to say, I'm going to put this into the stock market. I'm just going to watch what happens. And for some people, that's, again, $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever it is. But the point is you have to start building that skill of investing consistently, because that's where true wealth lies, is not in the getting and hitting the one stock and getting lucky and just saying, I bought Apple when Apple first came out, now I'm worth $400,000 or $4 million. That's not where success in investing comes from. Where success in investing comes from is investing consistently over and over and over again, not trying to time the market, not trying to overcomplicate anything. It's just a matter of being disciplined and creating the skill of saying, I'm going to invest this much on a consistent basis until. And notice I said until and I stopped. Because when it comes to investing, you don't stop investing. You're always investing. But you want to get to a spot where you're building up that skill of consistently investing. And so in order to get to a spot where you can invest more and more and more, you have to start with baby steps. So start investing with what you can invest and you're okay losing. Now, again, that's not to say you will lose, but that's to say that I'm okay investing this, understanding that, hey, I'm not emotional about this. I'm going to cut my emotions out of it and I'm just going to put this money in and start to create that pattern or that habit of consistently buying in the stock market or buying whatever product. And I'm only going to say strictly for stock market for this video, but you're creating that skill set or that pattern of just buying in the stock market over and over again, which eventually creates that long-term wealth that everybody's pretty much looking to have when it comes to investing. And lastly, don't overcomplicate investing. This is what causes paralysis for most investors, is overthinking and overcomplicating it. Really, investing is simple steps. The first simple step is building confidence in yourself. And you do that by starting where you're at. Again, that's where the having a savings plan comes in and then paying off debt. You start to stack those wins, which ultimately leads to you having more confidence, which leads to eventually starting in the stock market, which is step number 2. Step number 2 is once you start buying in the stock market, and again, I don't care what that number is, but once you start investing, don't stop. Just keep going because there's no such thing as timing the market. There is no perfect time to buy. It's just simply creating the habit of starting and never stopping and just doing it over and over and over and over and over again until. And ultimately, that's what leads to that long-term wealth, is the fact that you never stopped investing no matter what. And then the last one is stick to investing into a few different things. Either that's indexed funds for you, which I'm not going to get too much into index funds, or maybe that's blue chip stocks for you. So again, we talked about the Facebooks or the Googles or the Apples or the Nvidias or whatever it is. Find a handful of stocks, 5 stocks, 10 stocks, whatever it's going to be, and only invest in those. And just consistently buy those over and over and over and over and over again and never stop buying them. Now, if you're confused and you're saying, well, I don't really know what stock to buy in the stock market, I'll make this extremely easy for you. The safest play you can potentially make is into indexed funds. Index funds, there's a lot of good ones out there. There's the S&P 500, there's the NASDAQ, there's the Russells. You could also invest into VOO or QQQ, or you can invest into the blue chip stocks, which I just talked about. Your Amazons, your Teslas, your Googles, your Apples, these companies that you've heard of. So don't complicate this and start to tell yourself, well, I just heard about this new company though, and I heard that this is the next big one to blow up in. Leave that stuff to the experts. Stick with what you know how to do, which is creating a savings plan, creating the habit of saving, paying off debt, and then investing whatever amount you can. And then lastly, buy a handful of stocks or index funds that you can consistently put money into to build long-term wealth for yourself. So I hope that that video helped you, because that is something I've been getting pretty consistently for a lot of members in my private membership community. And again, if you're somebody who's interested in that private membership community, it's a monthly subscription cost, and we do live trainings every Tuesday. We do stock calls. We also teach you how to set up brokerage and stock accounts so that you can buy your very first stock. And what's cool is I can even give you a resource that's going to help you get your first free stock, no charge at all. So if that's something you're interested in, I will drop the website URL into the description below. But I wanted to create this for you because I'm getting a lot of concern and a lot of commonalities for new investors saying, I love what you talk about. I love that you're so transparent, but how do I do any of this? This is your resource. This is your video. Just follow those 3 steps and I promise you'll get success in investing and you'll start to build that wealthy life. So again, I want to thank you guys for your time. If you did enjoy this content and you want more, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.